Hello, chat. Hello there, Chris Miki. Oh, hold on. I gotta turn that off. There we go. Hello. Good evening, everybody. We're playing some. Get the volume on. We're playing some Project ZOMBOID. Oh, I've actually. So the thing about this game. Back about 4 years ago, I streamed Project ZOMBOID, on Twitch. This was back in 2021, I want to say. So it's been quite some time. All I remember, I died basically almost instantly. Didn't know anything. I barely knew anything about the game. And yeah, today it'll be different. I know a little more about the game. Not that much, mind you, but I know a little bit more. Also, I hope everybody. Oh, if I need to, I might need to turn down the game a little. Sorry. I don't want it to be loud and blasting in my ears or anyone else's ears for that matter. But yes, let me just move my mic as well. Okay. So it's been some time since I streamed this game. Like I said, it's hot here. It's hot where you are. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope you feel better. Hope you feel better. I can't do like a sad emote without breaking out the tears. But I do hope it gets less warm for you, and you know you can find a fan or you can drink some cold water. That usually helps me. I'm gonna open up I got my Sakura Cola here from the Japanese grocery store, so I'm just gonna crack this bad boy open. Just relaxing and shade. Nice. Are you outside right now? Wow. Okay. Alright, I got my Sakura Cola open. It opens very, very easily for being like a glass bottle, which is very nice. So, very nice for my hands, because I have very sensitive hands at times. But anyways, I don't really have anything else. Oh, hold on. I'm gonna snooze the ad coming up. Alright, ads are snoozed for 5 minutes, whatever. Ads... I mean, ad starts in 5 minutes. Twitch! Damn it! Okay, whatever. It's fine. I can't really do anything about that. Also, thank you so much to Yurkun for the offline subscription. Welcome to the Clover Kingdom. You are my 4th subscriber ever! Not ever, but, you know, for this new period of my streaming career. Anyways, I don't really have anything else to say other than I kind of just want to get into it. For this stream, I'm gonna disable the mod that has it so I can respawn, because I want the more authentic Project ZOMBOID experience. However, I am going to adjust some things to make the game easier for myself. So I'm gonna choose some mods. I have some mods here that I have selected. This one has been out of date for a while, I noticed. I'm not gonna turn the Vine Boom Alert on anymore because that scares the shit out of me. I had that on the first time I turned this game years ago. It's funny, but it's not worth it. I'm gonna turn on Authentic Z Light because I like the clothes. I'm gonna turn on Has Been Read. I'm not gonna turn on Keep Inventory and Respawn. Equip clothing while moving. I'm thinking if I should do Draw on the Map. I'm not sure. Why not? There was a one I just... Oh, okay, I see. For some reason, the ones I just installed are not loading here, so I would have to reload the game, and I'm not doing that. Okay. And I'll also have on... I don't know if I want to have a mini health panel. I'm thinking, Chad, I'm thinking real hard here right now. I think I'm just gonna go with these mods. I think for now... I don't know if I should do combat there, because that's... I don't know. Okay. Progress indicator. I don't know what that does. There's also more description for traits, but you know what? Let's accept this, reload the Lua. Hopefully this doesn't drop any frames or anything. Okay. And then we can get started with making our character. Or first we have to get started with making the sandbox preset that I want to do. Because I don't want to make it too easy, but I also don't want to make it like that I'll die like instantly, you know? If we die a few times today, that's gonna be okay. I'm wondering, I wonder if you do die once in this game, can you retrieve your stuff from your corpse, like your zombified corpse? Let me just look this up. Just ZOMBOID. Get your died. Oh, okay. It says once you kill, you must hunt on your corpse. Oh, so you can do it. Oh, I see. Alright, the game sometimes takes a bit of time to load mods in, which is a little unfortunate. But I can wait. I can wait. At least we have the music playing in the background now. Okay. It just takes a bit of time to reload the Lua, which is a little annoying. I should have probably done this before stream. But it's okay. So I hope you guys... I already asked this, but... did you guys do anything interesting today? Hi, Oval... Oh! There we go. We got it. Yay, it loaded. Hello there, Ovaltine. Ovaltine milk tea. Hold on, I'm gonna move the chat over a little bit. There we go. Okay. Hello, hello, hello. I hope you had a wonderful day. We are playing some Project Zomboid, and I hope the game isn't too loud or anything. I'm gonna turn it a little down for myself. We're going for custom sandbox, and we have mods on, but not many. I don't have the respawn mod on. Just the, oh, okay, there you go. All right, so there's some new places now that I have never seen before. Let's try, I think I'm gonna go with Echo Creek today. Usually I try to pick Muldrog or something because there's a lot there. But I think for the sake of today's stream, I want to go for like a more quiet area. And if we need to, and the cool thing about this is this, all of the places in Zomboid, you can go to all of them even if you spawn like all the way over here. Like I'm gonna be starting in where is it? In Echo Creek, which is this place right here. Very small, very rural. If I want to later on, if I survive for long enough, that is, I can go to Irvington or Rosewood or somewhere else. There's also other places as well, like Valley Station. But yeah, we're gonna start in Echo Creek, which is a real place. Yeah, all the places here are real. It's all Kentucky. It's all based on Louisville and Knox country from in Kentucky. So it's based on a real world place, which is really cool. And I think the layout is also the same as the real place, if I'm not wrong. Kind of like how Fallout New Vegas is based on the landscape of Nevada and Las Vegas. So, yeah. All right, so we're gonna go with Echo Creek. All right. So, all right, I'm gonna be adjusting something. So zombie count, I'm gonna lower the zombie count because I'm gonna have them be shamblers because the sprinters are fucking scary, and also, you know, and I'm gonna also have them be weak. I'm gonna have them be weak. Transmission, saliva only, which, you know, toughness is gonna be random. I'm gonna keep that random. Memory, oh, I forgot also, okay, let's see here. I'll do the other ones later. Day-night zombie speed effect. Default is both. Active zombies will use a speed set in the speed setting. Inactive zombies will be slower. Huh? Environmental attacks, new stealth system. What's this? Activates the new advanced stealth mechanics, which allows you to hide from zombies behind cars. Oh! Zombies can destroy player constructions and defenses. Yeah, sure. Crawlers drag down is off. Zombie lunge, drag down. Zombie house alarm triggering. I'm deciding if I want that. Nah. Okay. Player spawn area. Zombies will not spawn where players spawn. Zombies. Okay. Okay. Zombies cannot spawn inside the building and the rooms. Okay. I think that's what that means. Inside the building and around it. Okay. Cool. Population multiplayer low. Peak multiplier. I'm just gonna put that a normal. We're probably not gonna get to the peak day, which is day 28. You know. All right, loot. Oh wait, sorry. I want to do the world first because I want to turn the where is it? Where are the freaking the house alarms thing? Because I usually try to turn that off. Turn that a little bit. House alarms frequency. All right, let's do extremely rare. I usually try to turn the house alarm frequency to low. Extremely rare. Because well, you know what? Actually, I'll just keep it on sometimes as it is. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna have to be really careful, but yeah. Okay, basement spawn frequency. That rare, because I don't like getting fucking... Oh, basement! Oh, basements! Basements! Let's do often for basements. Alright, nature. Darkness during night, normal temperature, rate normal, everything normal. Farming abundance, Okay, everything's normal. What about loot? Let's hear. Looted building chance. Chance that any building will be looted when found. Interesting. Perishable food. Honey for the... Okay. Oh god, there's so much. Keys are rare. Okay. Generators are also rare. Ammo is normal. Okay, all these are normal. I thought some of them would be rarer than others. This is kind of the boring part of the game. I promise we'll get into it soon, chat. Okay. Character stuff. Bone fracture. You can see this, how complicated this game gets just from this setting menu. Yeah, there's a lot to account for. Global multiplayer. I think I'm gonna set my multiplier for EXP just to 3 for myself, because as I said, I'm a newbie. And I'll also set easy climbing as well. Vehicles, easy. Well, the vehicles are locked and need keys to free. You know what? Let's just do easy use because, like I said, newbie. So I don't want to like. Yeah. Okay. Initial gas, normal. Just because, you know, I don't want the run to last like only an hour and then I'll die immediately. So, and all this animal stuff. Animals attract zombies. Ooh, no, I don't want that. I don't want that. A meta predator? If a meta fox may actually attack your chickens at the hut. Oh, interesting. I'm not sure we'll be getting into the livestock stuff just yet, but... And let's set the daytime to 2 hours. Alright, we can start. Let's save that as... stream. Let's save that as the stream preset, because we'll probably be going back to that if I... Right? Okay! Now we get to making our character. I usually go for burglar, because it means I can hotwire cars, basically. But I don't know, let's actually... I think I want to go for carpenter, because carpenter also has... You can't really see, but behind my head, there is a bar here that says points to spend. And so I have to pick negative points, so I have to pick something that's like +2. So I'm gonna go for... I'm gonna go for... maybe not... I'm gonna go for... Let's go weak stomach. And I'm also gonna get nutritionist as well. And then I'll get Sunday driver. Oh, I have to, oh, never mind. Okay. I see. I have to get another +2. I could do smoker. I could have my character be a smoker. So I have to find cigarettes in the world to like satiate my my stress. It says here, unhappiness rises when tobacco is not smoked. Stress and unhappiness decrease after smoking tobacco. Let's see here. There's clumsy. A lot of these really suck. There's agoraphobic, which I've used before. It also sucks. Slow reader. That one's like, I don't know, because it's gonna take a full in-game day for me to read a book if I get slow reader. I could do short-sighted. You know what? Here, let's do high thirst. Okay. All right, now let's get to making our characters. So, I'm a boy, but oh, what? Oh, you can have a mask on. Interesting. I don't have a beard, but I'm not gonna be making myself, I don't think. Let's do, John McZombie. John McZombie. This is our guy. John McZombie. Hey! He's got a pony. No, he could do receding hair. Oh, spikes. Spikes look cool. I go a lot of the time for the Fabian here because I like it. Let's see here. Let's do grungy. This is John McZombie. No, here. Let's do not John. Maybe not John. Samson McZombie. That's our guy. Yeah. And then he's got blonde hair like me. I have blonde hair because I'm an awesome hamster guy. Okay, I don't want to. He doesn't need a belt. What hats do we got here? We got a. Okay, interesting. So if I have the hat on, then the hair goes away. Glasses. You cannot. If you get short-sighted, you cannot choose like normal glasses. So. Oh, I just realized. Hold on. Wait. I need to turn on starter kit. There we go. I need the starter kit. For myself, just because I'm not good at this game. Okay, don't know why the game wants to keep giving me a dust mask, but I don't. Okay, let's go for jeans. Let's go for jeans because jeans are pretty good for surviving the apocalypse. Also the denim shirt as well. No t-shirt though. And there's our guy. Yay! Now we start. I'm excited. I'm really hoping that I can actually get somewhere. We'll see. Okay, the game froze for a sec. Sometimes it does that. I don't know why. But we should be fine, I hope. I'm gonna just close Discord and also, oh, actually no, I can't close out. I can't close out my browser, which kind of sucks. Ah! I need to check it for stuff. Let's see here. What else do I need to do? Ah, yes. But yeah, we just gotta wait till the game loads and then we can hop on right in. I'm excited. Guys, are you freaking excited? I'm freaking. Oopsies, I didn't mean to open up my channel on my stream. Hold on. We're just waiting for the game to load right now. I'm just gonna real quick do something. Gotta copy this. Do that. Okay, cool. We just gotta wait till the game wants to load. Anyways, how have you guys been? You guys do anything cool today? Need to charge phone? Okay, take your time. You guys do anything cool today? I saw the new Spider-Man movie. It was really good. I really liked the new Spider-Man movie. Our theater that we went to had a lot of issues though. The projector shut off. The projector stopped working right before the movie started. So we had I had to go ask an employee to go see if they could fix it. Eventually it got fixed after like 15 minutes of waiting in the dark. But it was still a really good movie. And I got to eat my chicken tendies while watching. Okay, here we go. Chat. Lock in. Time to hopefully not die. Okay, we got all this stuff. Why are you spawning me right here? No, this is like the shittiest place I can... This is not a starter house. No. This, okay, hold on. Wait, how do I, okay, there's like a hotkey for like, picking up stuff really quick. Hold on. Interact is E, and I know shift and E. You can go through windows and stuff. Okay, maybe not. This is the worst place they could have put me. This is the worst place you guys could have put me. Okay. Oh man, alright. Tortilla chips. Oh, okay, I'll take the tortilla chips rather than the chips, the regular plain chips. Man, are you serious? Are you freaking serious? Oh, there's a burger in here. There's a hamburger. A crazy hamburger. Oh wait, okay, there's actually like useful stuff on these shelves. Okay. I think so, at least. Hopefully. Okay. Oh, there's water. Hold on. Wait. I gotta take the water. Oh, but I already have a plastic water. I already have a plastic bottle of water. So let's check these other... I always forget I can just click on them. Let's get the dehydrated meat stick. I just want to be careful because I don't want any zombies to see me through the... Would not be good. Okay. Snick snack bar. That does cure unhappiness, so I'll take that. Anything... Oh. Guys, can I grab the radio? No, I cannot. Because you can learn some useful stuff from these, apparently. You can learn some like valuable stuff from these apparently, but I just don't know exactly what. Gummy fish candy. Oh, I also need to get, okay, for some reason it didn't want to spawn me in a house. So, I can't exactly get, I don't exactly have, and there's no sheets here. But I can... Dark. It's too fucking dark. It's too fucking dark there. Well, this is the shittiest spawn ever. I guess I'm gonna have to go outside into the wilderness with, well, I do have a baseball bat, so I will equip that in my boat. Okay, I gotta unpack that, equip it. Come on, you could have given me, bro. I need to find like a house or something. There. Oh, there's a garage over here though, actually. Okay. Oh, maybe there's like an upstairs? Garage door is not open. Anything in the garbage can? No. There probably won't be any zombies. There's no oh, there's flyers and stuff now, aren't there? Oh, there's a map. Read map. Oh. What? Huh. And then there's also this other map. March Ridge. Okay. I don't really need that. Oh, I see a first aid kit. I'll take that as well. That's very heavy though, is the thing. What other... Oh. There's some cool magazines and flyers and stuff. Like if you inspect it, it'll show. Oh, and if you can click this map icon, it'll show you on the map, I think. Yeah. I don't have like... I don't have a pen or pencil or anything, so I can't write on the map just yet, but yeah, once I get a pen or pen. So make sure to check the flyers and stuff. Cool. Well, I just don't, the thing is there's no flashlight here. And it's dark as hell over here. Which is... Yeah, this is a bathroom. Oh, there's a light switch. Okay. Oh. There is a light switch in there. I found the light switch just by clicking around with my mouse. Okay. And so this goes into the garage here. Is there anything of use? Ooh. Ooh, there's some stuff of use. Oh, there's a research crafting here. What does this do? Grab one. Let's grab one. Okay. Oh, rubber hose. We need to take that. We need to take that for later. Okay. Check these. There's muffler, heavy chains. Those are... Oh, pencil. Need that. Oh, mechanic's eye. Can I grab that? What about in the... Is there anything of use? There's a toolbox. There's also knee pads. I'm thinking... Oh, I need a flashlight, actually. Yes, flashlight, perfect. Not too heavy, which is good. And then... Oh, there's another flashlight here as well. Welding torch, I also need. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? Where am I? Okay, game pauses when you're in a map, which is really good. I can, draw on map. Okay, so I can draw on the map. Which is really good, so, I'll just write, flies. Yeah, with the smiley face. Okay, cool. Oh, there's a car. Can I like, okay, there's a V for a radio. Why isn't the radio menu working? Okay, so there's a car here. I need to check the car to see if there's anything. Anything in the... Oh, there is a vehicle key. There is a vehicle key. No key for this car found. Okay. Let's see. Oh, there's fuel! It's full! Okay. We found ourselves a car! That's sick. That's sick. Okay, cool. Okay, well, I have to open up the, I'll have to keep the, I'm gonna have to keep the... Speak words. The, whatever. I don't even know what I was saying. I'm gonna look around and then I'll have to keep the gate open so I can use that car. And I'll grab this electrical wire. Anything in my... Okay. I'm gonna put this first aid kit in my backpack as well. Encumber myself too much. What's in the battery? Sheet metal. Nothing that I really need, I don't think, right now. So... But I do have this place marked on my map. Supplies. Yeah, this could be actually a pretty good starting place. I'm gonna be honest. Oh, that's the outside. That is the outside. But this could be a pretty good starting area, I think, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. Because there's a lot of stuff here. I just would need to board up the door. Yeah. Oh, empty gas can. Nice. I need that in case I need to siphon gas from a... Wonky. Anything in this box? There's some light bulbs and a funnel, and I don't really think that is... I think I saw another... Oh no, it's just this one. Okay, cool. Well, we have a way of travel, which is very nice. We have to just get back out there. Oh, this way, okay. We have our way of travel. We have a garage. Is there anything in this garbage can over here? There's some scrap. Nah, no. Can I make this into... I can smash this. I can smash a bottle out of this. There's a paint bucket here. Oh, I could use it to churn butter. Clean bandage? Disinfect bandage. Water container needs to be very hot. Oh, so if you boil water, you can disinfect bandage. It's very cool. Oh, there's another radio here. I don't know if there's like an option to pick this up. Is there not? Okay, no, it doesn't look like I can pick it up, unfortunately. Anyways, so we have the vehicle key. I guess. Well, I don't know if I want to be riding in a vehicle. Let's check over what's here first, though. Hockey. The word. Uh-oh. So sometimes the game has a bit of a tendency to freeze on me. Okay, it wasn't that bad that time. This door is locked. What's this? Order grinder. Oh, I can disassemble the door, though. Oh, I can grab this plank. I'll grab the plank because I'd like to have planks so I can get stuff. I just need nails. Okay, alright. Maybe there'll be some nails in here, actually. Or not. Oh, there's a rifle! Ooh. There's... Oh, man. Okay. Look how many guns there are here. I don't really like using guns, though. Oh, and there's some books here. This is like a great starting spot. I was complaining at first. But this is actually like perfect. Now, the only thing is there's no nails. I need to find nails. So that'll be our first order of business. Is finding nails. There's also this is just part of the same place. Okay. Is there like a way to craft a door? Is there a way to make a new door? Cause I don't want to keep this place like open like this. I don't know. I know what I can do is I can probably barricade the entrance, and then just use this garage door here as the opening, because now I can open and close to get in. So, well, anyways, I think I need to find some nails and stuff. Let's go. Am I not in the front seat? Oh, hold on. Oh shit, I have to like back. His car's a little fucky. Nope, fuck. Ow, that hurt me apparently. Okay. There we go. There we go. There we go. Whoa, okay. Uh-oh. No, 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 no. Get back in. Put the key in the ignition. Okay. Run into the lamppost. Alright, now we're off. Oh. Oh, this car is shitty as hell. And my game is freezing as well a little bit when I use it. Need to equip my... What is this? Speedy Go. Maybe they'll have nails here. Door is closed, of course. No, however, is not. Oh, okay. Do you guys have nails? I'm trying to think if I hear a zombie or not. Zombie? Oh my god, there's a zombie! No zombie here! Nope, there is a zombie. Oh, he's got a watch on him though. That scared the shit out of me, bro. I am not built for these types of games. I am not built for these types of games. Oh man. Any zombies in here? No. Okay. No zombie. That scared me so bad. Oh my god. Can I make... Oh, we can make a carabiner with 5 paper clips. Long sleeve t-shirt. Okay. Nothing much in here. Damn, that's got me. Okay, I don't see any zombies here, so that's good. I just need to find some nails, though. This would also be a pretty good place to set up. Ooh, Value Tech Radio. Okay, I'll take that. Wait, how much encumbrance? Ugh, over encumbered. I'm gonna see if I put that in my backpack. Well, a little bit. I just need to find a box of nails or something. I don't know if they're rare or not, but yeah, this would be a great place to start a base, I think. I don't know. There's no nails here, but there are safety goggles for welding. My backpack. Careful. I have to always watch my stats and moodlets on the side here. Any zombies up here? Any zombies? I also... Oh, I have a backpack, so I don't need to make a sling bag, which is... Any zombies in here? Zombies? Any zombies in here? Oh no. I do see like open windows though, which is a little scary. There's no like windows, there's no windows to block off here. I don't think there's gonna be anything interesting. Nothing. Well, this is a very good area so far. Let's turn on the light. Actually, no, you know what? We don't need it. Okay. I don't need to be crouching all the time. Not yet, not yet. Not where there's no zombies around that I can see. Okay. You know what? I think, well, no. Because I need to find like a house. I need to go down here to the residential area to get like a house or something. There's some of these bugging. Ooh. Planks! Okay, I gotta write this on my freaking thing here. There's like a shit ton of planks in here. Hold on. Okay. Planks! Yes, oh my gosh. You know, you guys don't know how much I was fucking struggling looking for planks in a different place. I cannot disassemble the door. That is unfortunate. Okay, let's get back in our car. In our shitty ass car. And hopefully we can find some nails or something. Eventually. Alright, let's go. Oh wait, there's like a house over there, isn't there? Let me get out. Let me get out again! I drive like 5 seconds, and then I want to check out this house here. That can give you a muscle strength. Careful and look around on all sides just to make sure there's no zombies that'll jump scare me. And I just need to find like a good starting house, I think. Oh. Here. Man, these people fucking lock their windows tight. It's hell. Come on, you wanna budge? I'm getting the fuck out of here, bro. No, thank you! Nope, nope, nope. 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 What is that? Is that a mannequin? Why is there a mannequin here? Okay. That was not cool. Okay. Let's close the window. Close the curtains. Oh fuck. You don't want to like, you don't have any oh, the alarm stopped. Okay, that's good. There might be a bunch of zombies around there though. This may be a good starting house. I keep forgetting I can press Shift E to just close the blinds automatically. There's nothing good here though, from what I can see. This is a fucking random ass mannequin outside, and I don't know why, but that's giving me like the heebie-jeebies. Okay, I don't think I want to stay here though, because the corpse is gonna start releasing like fumes. It's not gonna be cool. It's not gonna be fun. So that house over there was unfortunately a bust because of the alarm, but this one is also a bust because it is tiny as hell. Doesn't have any good supplies, which is unfortunate. So what about, oh, it's open, but there's no curtain. Please give me some nails or something. Ah, no nails! Damn it! Go check that house again to see if the alarm attracted any zombies or probably, yeah. At least one. Bonk. Bonk. Oh, there's another one over there. Can I like crawl in window? Okay, so the alarm kind of goes away after a bit. Let's take a can opener. Grab one. I just gotta be careful because I know that the zombies are. I gotta be really careful about this. Really sneaky, really. Yes. Catcher's vest. That could be pretty. I don't know. Nope, yeah, they're trying to get in. Okay, I don't want that one. Alert the horde, so give me one sec, chat. Take care. fuck! It bit me! God damn it, it got me. Aw, man, I gotta patch that up now. Dickhead, you asshole. Oh, I don't have any bandages. Ah! Of course I don't. Of course I don't. Frick. Okay, well I can't. This house is like I can't stay in here for very long, but we'll loot the place and then. Oh, I'll take these curtains as well. And I'll also grab this pillow because I will also rip the sheet so I can make a bandage for myself. Let me just go in a room here with no windows. I just need to rip this so I can make both, and I can bandage my left forearm so I'm not in pain or well, I'll still be in pain. But maybe a little less so. Okay. And I'll also wash my baseball bat as well. Okay, let's check the kitchen if there's anything. Probably not though. Man, this house had like had a freaking had a freaking alarm system for no reason. This place sucks. This house fucking sucks. There's nothing here. There's twine. I'll take twine, I guess. I'm over encumbered again. Well, I'll eat like half of my sausage. This place freaking sucks. That's too bad. That's really too bad. Okay. Oh man, oh wait, it's 1340. So that means I think. Let me close that. I think hopefully. Turn on. Okay. Channel the Life and Living TV. Life and Living TV. Tune in. Ah, woodcraft. Nice. Okay. So this is for the skill tree. Skill thing, learning. Hold on. Where is it? There's this. Here it is. Carpentry. Oh, okay. We already have carpentry level 5. Well, damn, okay. That was not useful for me. I didn't realize. I forgot I picked carpenter. That house was a bust, so let's check this house. Okay, no alarm, cool. Anything? Oops. I can see. There is a nice little chair. Ooh! There's some pistols. I just don't like using pistols because, you know what? I'll take it though. I don't have any room. Never mind. I don't like using pistols because they produce a lot of sound. And that causes all the zombies to want to kill you. Oh, rubbing alcohol bottle. And also take these beta blockers as well. They have enough room for them. Okay. Let's head back to the garage where we found the planks, so up there, and unload some of our stuff. Probably shouldn't keep that door open, but yeah, let's keep. Oh, there's a zombie over here. Where did you come? All right, get out of my fucking house. Get out of my. Bonk, bonk, bonk. I knocked the hat off him. Okay. Oh, okay, we should be able to get back in now. Okay, cool. So I have a show. All right, cool. So this will be our little base. I just have to figure out. I know you can make a mattress. How do you make a mattress? You require sewing level tailoring level 2. You need a forged sheet, a sinew thread, 5 sheets, and 5 pillows. Or maybe maybe just a forged needle and sheets. I think. Maybe? I don't know. What else can I make with tailoring though? Yeah, my level up is what I mean. Harp skirt. On garbage bag skirt. Make a sheet with medical shears and a cotton fabric roll. Harp bandeau. You can make a reclaim sling, you can make a sling bag, but I don't need to because I have a backpack. So, whoop-de-doo. Alright. Okay, these shelves have like a lot of space to put all my stuff. Like my planks. I'll put my Value Tech radio as well. Other plank as well. I'll leave the pillow in here for now. Until here. And also I'm gonna also write on the map that this is my home. So brilliant home, brilliant starting area. So yes. What else? I'll put this electrical wire as well, and these safety goggles, and the welding torch right now. I'll keep the twine and the wood saw and stuff on me. Okay, cool. Wait, hold on. Actually, I need this. Okay, we are already carrying quite a lot, but okay. Okay, so yeah, this is gonna be my house. Pretty good, I think. I don't really need to go over here because I don't want to like sniff the zombie too hard, and then get sick. Let's check this car here, this taxi, to like any key. Ah ha ha! Nice. Nice. Maybe this one will drive a little better than the other one. All right, now we're off. Okay, well, we we found ourselves a good place to gotta be careful with that. Found ourselves a good place to set up our base. Gotta look around. Oh, there's a big ass house. Oh, there's a barn here. Ooh. There's a big ass barn here. There might be some animals or something. This scary ass music is not helping. I don't see. Oops, didn't mean. Ow. Okay, that's just doing. Oh, let me remove my bandage and redress it. Disinfect with rubbing alcohol. Rag. Okay. This also has heavy pain, and I don't have any pain. Probably shouldn't be running all the time, should I? This is a big ass farm. If I ever find any animals or something, I'm definitely gonna take them here. But as I can see, as you guys can see, and as I can see, there's no animals. Nothing around. Alright. What about this house over here? This is the huge ass. There's really not many zombies around, which is actually very good for me because I don't like them. I think I hear something, actually. Zombie in here. Yeah, I'm playing Zomboid! I kind of suck at it. But I'm playing it, that's for sure. There's no curtains on these windows, which kind of annoys me. Ah, shit, I'm hungry. Hold on. Let's go to retreat to the bathroom to eat. Nope, there's no curtains here. Oh, there is a needle, though. I'm taking that. Taking the needle. I need to find a place that has no windows, so no zombies see me and eat my flesh. Okay. It's got a big learning curve, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm doing okay, but okay, I have to eat. Where's the burger that I have? Where's my freaking burger? Yeah, my burger. Yeah. I gotta eat my burgie. Yum 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 yum. Yum 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 yum. Delicious. Pocket burger. Yes, precisely. Okay, let's check out this house. But yeah, if you have any tips or tricks, let me know. I kind of watched like quite a few videos. Peach's Pizza. I watched quite a few tips and tricks videos to me, hopefully. But there's still, the game is still pretty complicated, all things considered. So, but I'd like to think that oh, there's a lot of paint in here. I'd like to think I figured out some things. Like I know to do things better before. I found, actually, there was a place that I spawned in, like right here, that was great. That was great for supply. So it's like a garage type building. So I'm staying here as my base. I mean, my friend always have winged. Most tips are just don't die. Also, hold on. I just need to just make chat a little smaller. There we go. That is, yeah, that is the basic. That is most tips I see from this game. This could actually be a good base, or like a good place to come if I need to sleep or something. It's not too. Oh, it's too dark to read. Forgot they made that a thing. Cause it's not like the farthest from where I'm setting up my base. And I need to find stuff to make a mattress. Which is, oops, that's not what oh, building, oh! I didn't notice this. For some reason, I didn't notice it. Requires carpentry level 4, which I have. Ah, but, a mattress is in the crafting menu for some reason. Pause here while. Mattress. So, okay. It says here I need 5 sheets. Am I reading that right? Do I need 5 sheets? Why does it say star pillows? Why does it say I need star pillows? I mean, so I need a needle, right? And then I need sinew thread? And then I need pillow, and then you see star pillows. Or, sorry, pillows, I guess. That might be from one of my mods. Maybe from a mod or something? I don't know. But, yeah. But this bed is good because it has pillows. So you can sleep cozy and cutely in this housecape? Yeah, exactly! This bed here has pillows on it. Hold on. It'll say good with pillow, so, and I'm experiencing too much pain to sleep. So this would be a good place to have, like, let me turn on the light. This would be a good place to set up, I think. But I'd have to get a lot of sheets from the other houses to cover up the the windows and stuff. So, you know, to barricade everything. So yeah. Yeah, probably. Okay, so this room is safe. This room is safe. Okay, I just need to close the window. Anything, but I'm also painkillers. Those are perfect. If I ever get sleepy or drowsy, I'm here. Take a nice little nap. And then one more room here. I'm still looking for nails though. I haven't found any nails, and the places I checked were all garages and stuff. But, I've always yeah, it is troublesome trying to find a place to set up. But it spawned me like in a perfect place to find supplies and stuff. Also, there's a farm over here. There's a big ass farm here that I found on a flyer, so I might try to check that place out because I have a car. I found a car that works immediately, which is like insane luck. Insane hamster luck. Did I? Oh, I didn't close the window. Like. Okay, let's get out of here. So, where was my car? I think I left my car over there. Look. On the road somewhere near. It's on me. So, yeah, there's a big ass farm here. I want to investigate that place I saw on the flyer. There's this barn as well, but it's not really. There. Okay, there's my tax. There's my car. Don't forget to I did mark my house. Well, I'll mark the oh, I'm pleasantly hot. I'll mark the place I was sleeping in. Which is like, was it this one? No, it was this one. Okay. Mark there. Yeah. Okay. Now we are headed to now we're headed over all the way over here. Check this barn out. For some reason, so I have Sunday driver as a trait, but I still drive really fast. Oh, the game likes to freeze at times when I'm driving, and I don't. Just trying to be careful here. Oh! Oh, shit, there's chickens and stuff! Oh, but there's a fuckload of zombies. Do you guys see that? Damn. Do you think I can, like... Okay, this is stupid. I can distract them. Like a house alarm or something so they leave the chickens alone. Because there's a lot of, like, useful... And I was hoping there wouldn't be many zombies here, but it looks like I was wrong. There's a shit ton of them at this place. Damn. And they're all scaring the shit out of the chickens, probably. Oh, there is a trailer here, though, if I want to. I have a great idea. OVO. I have a great idea, chat. Let me pause. So there's a trailer here. And you can hook up the trailer to the car, and then you can transport the chickens. However, I would need a rope for that. I would need to find a rope. And then I also need to make them feeding troughs and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not. Is there anything in here, though? I don't think I can check. Oh. Chicken good... Plucking good eggs. Okay, so this is like an egg farm. If my game could not freeze for like 1 second. Come on. Okay, I just want to get in here. Or like alarm. I was actually kind of hoping you'd probably need to have an already established farm for them to live. Yeah, that is true. Oh, but there's eggs in here. Oh, there's a bunch of eggs and stuff, which is to be expected because it's an egg farm. Look at all these eggs. God damn. Okay. Well, I know where to come if I need eggs. They're not going to stay fresh for long though, probably. Okay, there's more eggs. More eggs. Nothing in the sink here. A ton of eggs. I probably should take one of these, shouldn't I? Because I mean, I don't really have all the omelets. Yeah, all of the omelets. I'll leave these here for now. Let's open up the garage door so I can get back in that way, though. Alright, is these zombies... Uncomfortable. I mean, my character is uncomfortably hot right now. Come on. Yeah. More eggs. More freaking eggs. You know, this would actually probably be like a perfect place to also set up spawn. Like half the world right now. Yeah, uncomfortably hot. Oh yeah, definitely. This is just eggs. This is all eggs, nothing else, just eggs. Okay, good to know. Good to know. All right, now the door's unlocked. What about here? Is there just gonna be more eggs? Or, like, is there gonna be farm animals in here? Oh, there's a shovel and stuff. Oh, I'm thirsty. Okay, and then, okay, there's a house over here, actually. I need to get water. Oh, there's a... And the door's open. Good omen. There's one over there as well. Can you die? Oh, but that one is kind of... Okay. And then there's another one coming over. I gotta be careful not to, like... Use the fence, and then hit them. Oh, this fucker! It got me while I was trying to do some shit. Okay, cool. All the zombies here dealt with. Hopefully none in the house. I mean, I don't know. Because this could also be a good place to, Wait, that's actually perfect! Wait. That could draw the, zombies out. If I go back into the barn, that could draw the zombies out from the chickens. Perhaps. Over there. If I could hide around in here. Just wait, I guess. I don't really know what else to do. But I can wait until the alarm stops going on. This is a strat I learned. Is to let the house alarms track the zombies. So you can, like, loot. Oh, god damn it. There's one outside here. Fuck. Oh, okay. Oh, I just forgot. I am thirsty as hell. But that is a strat I found. Yeah, as you can see, a lot of the chicken pens have been evacuated by the... There. Can I pick up these chickens? Oh, I can! Is it in my inventory now? Hold on. It is! Oh! Forgot! Is there any water here? Hold on. Oh shit, there's... Oh, but it's stupid. It's going, see, it's going to where the alarm was. Go in here. Thirsty. I'm getting thirsty. Yeah, see, they're all going to where that alarm was. Alright, well. I will come back here, and maybe we'll grab some chickens later on. I'm sure they'll still be fine. I know this is stupid. I climbed the fence. Okay. No, it didn't work. Okay. I don't know why I tried to do that when I could have just... Alright. Well, we need to head back to our base so we can go drink some Wawa. Oh, there's also like a bunch of crops here as well. Bunch of farm space. High exertion. Yeah, I gotta be careful. We are not gonna be... Alright, let's get back to... Ooh, yeah, let's get back to our... Which is this way. Gotta be careful not to hit it. Oh, there's a zombie. Okay. You guys like my sweet ride? Ah! Fuck! I fucking bashed it into the god damn it. I bashed my sweet ride. Gotta move that other car. No! Oh fuck! I keep bashing my sweet ride into shit. Okay. Back here. This is where we're staying. We're staying at the Speedy Go. Oh, the door's locked. Okay, well, that's fine. If this is not locked, then that's okay. Should be a... Not where I wanted to go. There should be... Okay. There's like a freaking... There it is. Okay. You can fill all of these. Is the empty gas can stuff gonna be like tainted? Oh, but we are carrying a little too much. Oh, okay, interesting. Oh, now we're carrying a lot. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, let's empty that for now. I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, let's just... Yeah. Cool. Now we could do with some rest. So is there, like, any place that I can rest here? There's no, like, beds or anything, but there are chairs and stuff. But the thing with that is that, yeah. You know what? Maybe I can sleep on the floor. No, there's no sleep on ground option. Damn it. See, this is one of the issues with staying in like a place like this. This is not, we don't have the best options for resting. Oh, there's water in there. We don't have the best options for like resting or anything. There's no chairs in this area as well. We can't just sit in the ground though. Just. How's my health doing? I wonder if I remove this bandage, will it still have damage? There's still laceration. Okay, gotta be careful of that. Okay. All right, I can take this time to drink some of my cola, my Sakura cola. I'm actually doing a lot better than I thought I would be, which is great. But yeah, the one thing I want to do is make a mattress. I'm just gonna look up if there's like an easy way. You need a needle, 5 thread, 5 sheets, and 5 pillows. Okay. So I need thread. Zomboid, where do I find? Okay, sewing kits. Encounters in clothing stores, and you can also harvest thread from ripped sheets. Oh. Oh. Didn't know that. Hold on. Can I harvest thread from... Can I not get thread from any of these? Craft twine. Aw, man. Okay. Because it says you can harvest it from fabric strip. Doesn't... Can I? I can just disinfect the rag and that's it. Oh, pick thread. Oh, okay, I see. It requires tailoring level 1. Interesting. So I have to get my tailoring up. Interesting. Okay, alright, I see. Is there anything I can do with tailoring right now, though? No. I can make a newspaper hat. Yeah, I would need to find a book on tailoring, so that may take a while. Yeah, okay. Alright, well, let's get ourselves up and get on the road again. Actually, I should probably, here, I'm just gonna do this right here. I'm just gonna put some stuff away. Dirty rag, don't need that. There is a pillow. Oh yeah, I put this stuff all here, so. I didn't find any, I didn't find any sewing kits yet, so. That may be something I want to keep an eye out for. Alright. So I want to, we haven't gone this way yet before. This is where we started. This is where it put us in. We haven't gone this way. Let's go that way. Yeah. What else can I deposit that I don't need? I don't really... Okay. Well, my shirt is dirty. But I'm not wearing anything under this shirt. But for some reason, when I go outside, it says it's extremely hot. So... I don't know about that. Alright, I want to keep the claw hammer on me. And the can opener. So I'm gonna put the claw hammer in my backpack. Yeah, because my backpack has a lot of space. Alright, that should help a little. Okay, let's go. Let's get back out there, chat. Let's get going. Yeah. Let's go look for nails and some tailoring shit and whatnot. Alright. I just had, yeah, okay. Come on, let me in. Doesn't put me in the driver's seat all the time. I don't know. Is there anything interesting? No, there's nothing of interest in the glove box. Let's get going. Right, past the bridge. Oh, there's some zombies here. Just gotta go past them. Alright, past this place. Zombie. Oh, there's some trailer homes here. Ooh. Here's a good place. Out with this. Here. They were having like a little fair, it seemed. Ooh. Processed cheese, money. Money doesn't serve any use to me anymore. Boigas, can't get in the Boigas place. I can, however, loot out of the front, which is kind of funny. Oh my god, there's a horde coming. Okay. we are... Okay, wow. We are getting out of here. We are ducking behind. The zombies, apparently they lose sight of you. You, like, duck behind. Oh. Hopefully. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, there's a sewing kit! Perfect! Yeah! Okay, I need that. I need to grab that. Cool. That's perfect. Yeah, you can hear that the new music stopped. Music stopped playing when they must have lost track of me. They must have lost track of me because I'm such a gamer. All right, anything in here? Anything in this house of you? I saw some cat treats, which I think were on the floor or something. Nothing here really. Yeah, no. No books on tailoring, unfortunately. Oh, the poor. No books on tailoring. Oh, they're all the way over there. I don't... Oh, +1 sneaking. Oh, climb through. No, I don't want to smash the window, please. Close window. There. Okay. Oh, shit. And okay, I don't want to be in this house because, like, sucks. There's like no curtains or windows or anything. +1 light foot. Oh yeah, I have the EXP modifier ups. Gotta eat. Nothing around me? Okay. These houses kind of suck. Some zombie. One of them is naked for some reason, and I don't know why. I'm not gonna ask. Alright, where did I leave my car? Don't know. Kill you. I thought I like one-shot it for a sec. That was really funny. Okay, you have nothing on you. Anything in these garbage? Garbage bag. Tofu. Oh. I can make stuff out of the garbage bags, which is really interesting. But I need duct tape for that. See any duct tape or anything like that? And these people love America. Too bad, what did the government do for them, huh? Nothing! Nothing! Everyone died and became a zombie! Except for me, because I'm John McZombie. Hello, everybody. Oh. Man. And that's my name, that's my game. Yeah, welcome to my game. This is John Zombie's game. John Zombie is an award-winning actor. Where the fuck did I put my taxi? Oh, it's right here. Oh, no. No, there's a bunch of zombies on my car! No, that's not cool, bro. Oh, man. I have to lure them all one by one so I can get to my car. Fuck. This asshole. Come here. I have to either lure them or just wait. Looks like they're kind of walking away. Bully. Because there's like 5 of them, and I don't think I want to face 5 zombies at a time. Oh, I'm gonna just wait for them. Hopefully. Check out anything down here. Oh, yeah, they're okay. They are walking away. My car. Oh, no, they're walking towards me, actually. There's a generator here, actually. Sure. But that's, yeah, that's a, I'm over in comment. Back. I just, uh-oh. I think I need to get in my car right now and then get back to my house. Fuck. Wait, we got. Why do I have broken bones? Bro, get in. Get the fuck in. Okay. No, 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 no. Alright. No, why did I drop the fucking generator? Can I, like, run them all over? Hold on. Oh, man. You want a piece of me, motherfucker? No. Maybe this is a bad idea. I just want my damn generator back, bro. No, come on, can I? I'm doing fucking drifting and shit. Come at me! No, no, fuck. Die! Oh, that one's stuck on my wheels! Is this even working? Am I killing them? Come at me, motherfucker! Come at me, motherfucker! I think I killed 2 of them! Did I kill them? I killed most of them. Hold on, wait, there's 1 left. Come at me, motherfucker. Ah! Come on, this is really hard to control. It's not me, chat, it's the game, okay? Come on. You know what? I'm just gonna get out of the car and just beat them with a baseball. Oh, fuck. Come on. Okay. Oh, that was all of them, wasn't it? Ah, we did it! I lived and came back to zombie GTA. Yeah. I need this fucking generator. I need this. Okay. We have to put this in our trunk. We have to put this. Okay, open trunk. The generator in there. Wait. No. It's too heavy! It's too heavy! Okay. Right. Let me take off my backpack. God. No. Okay. Oh my god. Kidding me. It's got a 40 fucking encumbrance and it's like killing me slowly. It's too heavy for the car, I guess. If I get in, do I still have it on me? No, because it drops it. No, that's bullshit. This car is fucking sucks. Do I really have to walk all the way back? I don't want to walk all the way with this. No. I'll find a better car, I guess. Damn, okay. I did all that killing zombies for nothing? I killed all of the zombies with my car for nothing. Fucking generator, piece of shit generator. Damn it, okay. Well, alright. Get out of here. I guess I have to equip my my backpack again. I put it somewhere. Oh, I put it in the trunk, right, okay. Damn, I did all that. I did fucking zombie GTA for nothing, bro. I am hungry, though. Oh, there's some food here. Cherry pie! Yes. Yummy, yummy, delicious. Yeah, I could go for some pie right now so bad, actually. Like, you know what? Oh, now I'm satiated. Cool. Oh, that has a lot of calories. How's my weight? Okay. I'm gonna keep that on me. Delicious, delicious, delicious fresh. Look at all these delicious fresh foods that are gonna totally go rotten soon. What's your favorite pie? I like apple pie. I like apple pie. Alright. What about this car? Let me check this car's, okay, no, this car has even worse, capacity. Let me check if there's anything in here, though. Oh, there's a plastic bag. Why is there so many plastic bags? There is a vehicle key for this one. In here. Let's see how this one goes. In my new car. Alright, do you like my new car? My new whip? My new ride? Oh, this one fucking sucks. Wait, no. Maybe it's just me. Oh, there's a base. There's like a construction zone. But yeah, I like apple pie. Oh, God, I want to go some so badly. Look at the zombie though. Bonk, 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 bonk. Go down, bitch. Damn. No. Go down. Hey. There you go. Okay. And nothing good on you. In here though? Maybe we can put the generator in a trailer and then tow. Oh, I could do that. But I think the trailer is specifically for animals, unfortunately. I could be wrong though. Another zombie. Oh, there's more. And nice. That was a really nice hit, actually. There's another one. Come at me, bro. Come at me. I'm a zombie. I'm John McZombie, and you're trying to fuck with me, John McZombie? Yeah, you don't know what you don't know what's coming for you, zombie. You fuck with I'm tired. I'm drowsy. You fuck with John McZombie, you get the fucking McZombie. Yeah. Does this... Oh, this house has windows with curtains on them. Please don't beep at me. Okay, cool. I'm going to climb through. Close the window. Close the curtains as well, so no zombies see me from the outside. I'm gonna take a lovely, lovely nap here on the bed. Right here. Ah, and there's a pillow. Good with pillow. Yes, I would like to sleep. Yay, and hopefully my pain will go away. My minor pain. Yeah, I'm John McZombie! You don't fuck with John McZombie. You don't fuck with him, man. You don't fuck with me. You don't fuck with him. Oh, what's going on? Why am I tense? Why am I on edge, bro? Why am I stressed? Okay, well, I guess I need to get my stress down. Okay, there's no zombies in here. Oh, there's a gun case. Ooh, oh man, that thing has like a lot of income. I need to re-download and play this. Yeah, they updated it recently to B42, I think, which is like the huge ass update that everyone's been waiting for apparently. Oh, this one doesn't have any. All right, there's more painkillers here, which I'll take, and also alcohol. Well, anything yummy nummy in the kitchen? Anything yummy nummy in the kitchen? Oh, I'll take a butterfly knife because I need a knife for stuff. For stuff and things. And not devious purposes. Missing his bandits and other... Yeah! I don't know if they'll ever add those, though. Maybe someday, but... The people kind of fulfill that quota by playing multiplayer. Is there any... Okay, there is... Unfortunately... Okay, there is no... Oh, but there is something I can read. Grab that and put in my backpack to read it, because my character is stressed as fuck right now. So let's go in here. Rest. Just to get less tense, I guess. There we go. And then you can reread it as well. Right. I need sheets. I need to grab sheets. So grab these sheets as well from these houses. To hopefully make myself a mattress or something. I don't know. I just try to be careful. I'm gonna keep the sheets on in the that scared the shit out of me, dude. That scarecrow. That scarecrow. Ah! I didn't overreact. I didn't overreact. Oh my god, there's so many zombies. I'm doing fine. Why is Slenderman outside? Yeah, why is Slenderman outside? Where's my car? Shit, I don't remember where it is. This is Jesus. Where did I put my fucking... Oh, where's my flashlight? Hold on. Oh my god. This is not helping my case. This is not helping me. Where's my fucking car? I'm gonna... Okay, wait. Oh, wait, it's over here. It's over here. I just have to be really careful. Okay. I can't be running around too much because otherwise I'm dead. So yeah, they made this game like a lot more darker outside at night. Okay, my car should be up over here. Please don't. Okay, cool. All right. Let's get, or my new car. Sorry, this is my new car. My new awesome car. Please put me in the fucking... Alright, we need to get over... okay. We just need to go on Peacekeeper Road, and then on Main Street, and then Payne Road, and then we're all good. Get out of my fucking way! Oh, I'm going too fast. Okay, we just need to go to the left, this way. Oh, that was scary. Guys, that was scary. Leave a like if you like that. Yeah, that was super scary. Okay. Well, I can unequip my flashlight now, I think. Oh, now I'm fucking over encumbered. Great. I'm gonna put that in my backpack. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna get that generator eventually. I'm gonna get that eventually. I am. I promise you, chat. I'm gonna get that generator. If it's the last thing I do before I die. Let's unpack the sewing kit and see what's in here. There should be some... Oh, now I'm over... Great. Oh, it went into my main inventory. Okay. What do we get from... Oh. I unpacked you. Huh? You got this? It's gonna be so generated? Exactly. Okay, let's hear. Ooh, there's some thread and there's some needles. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna put these here for now. Yes. I'm gonna put the... I don't know what in all... Research can... Crafting. Okay. Whatever that does. And then I'm gonna put the book. And I'm also gonna put the sheets in here as well. Yeah. It's good thing it's getting light outside now. Okay. Maybe we can take off the bandage now. My left forearm. See how it's looking. Nope, still laceration. That thing, I heal very, very slowly. I also need to fill up my water bottle. Let's go do that. I also have to be careful. I have to make, oh gosh. What is it? Like a catcher or something? Hold on. Like a water catcher or something you can make for when it rains. You can have like an unlimited, rain when they shut the power off. Water collector. How do you make that? A rain collector barrel. Carpentry level 5. What does it need? It needs planks 6, nails 5, and then garbage bag 4. Damn, okay, so I have to pick up a lot of that stuff. I already know where to get a bunch of planks. I just need to find nails and garbage bags. Garbage bags are easy to find. They're kind of everywhere. Alright. Yeah. Fill my water bottle. Hello there, Arda Itsuka. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope you're having a wonderful day. We are playing some Project Zomboid. Whoa. I'm currently, I'm living. I'm trying. Also, I don't need this sewing kit in my inventory anymore. Actually, I can somewhere else. Is there any garbage bags in here in this garbage? No, there's no garbage bags. Great. Okay, I'm gonna drop this. Don't need that. Okay. Oh, there is adhesive tape. I'll take that. It's not very useful. There's also paper here. Yeah, okay. This is where we are staying right now. This is my awesome and epic garage. I hope you would like it. Oh, maybe there's some garbage bags over here. Oh no, but there are planks, but they are... Oh, there is one garbage bag. There is one garbage bag. So I'll grab that and I'll put it inside. Let me check what's in here first. Backgammon board rock candy. Okay. I'll put that in my backpack. And then a short dress. Okay. Alright. I will unequip that and just, put that in here. Okay, cool. Alright, well, we need to go find some nails. I still haven't found luck finding nails. There's a bunch of planks over here right next to my face. There's no nails at the supplies area either. So I need to find like a retail and commercial. I need to find more retail and commercial places. This is the big ass farm that we were at that was overrun by zombies. Yeah, I guess we can continue back going into town or something. I do need to put some stuff away though. Apparently. What do I need to put away? Because I have a bunch. I guess for now I'll put the wood saw away. I'd like to keep the claw hammer on me. The Borga is still fresh, which is great. We love ourselves a good Borga. Oh, I should equip the baseball bat. One of the reasons I. Okay, well, we're good. Okay, let's go. Hopefully there's no zombies on my property. There's a zombie on your lawn. There's a zombie on your lawn. It's gonna be like that. Okay. Come on, let's move. Here we go. Oh, I thought it was raining for a sec, but it's just the graphics. Oh. This car kind of sucks ass. Why did I take this? Whatever. It's fine. Let's go this way. Let's go this way! Whee! I'm committing vehicular manburger helper. Everybody get in the way! Whee! I love hitting them with the car. It's so funny. This is where we were before, and where I almost got... Oh, this is where the fucking generator is. That asshole, the piece of shit generator that won't fit in my trunk. Because I don't have enough space anyway, apparently. Oh, wait, there's a... Oh! Okay, I haven't checked this building here yet. This thingy. I don't even know if it'll let me in. Because there's only, like, there's no windows. Oh! This could be a good place to set up my base, actually. It's all fun and games until you run into a whole crowd and they overtake your car. Yeah! I'm trying not to do that. So, we should be good. Oh, there's, okay, this is like a car garage, it seems. Please help the military help you. What other channels we have? Upper South music. Turn on the volume, because I don't know if it'll attract zombies here, so. Oh man, there's nothing here. Oh, but it does turn down my boredom. Oh, a tarp. Should I take that with me? I'm gonna take that with me. It is pretty heavy though, so I have to be careful. Oh, there's a toolbox. What is in the toolbox? Nothing that we need right now, but I will keep that in mind in case I ever come back here. Oh, garbage can. Let's check. Garbage bag. Nice. I'll put that in my backpack for now. Cockroach that is rotten and uncooked. Delicious. Oh, fuck. Not what I wanted to do. I did not want to vault over the stairs. Okay. Oh, and then there's just oh, screws. Oh, damn it, that's not nails. That's screws. Not what I need. Not what I need at all. And then there's some ice cream. There's welding rods. What can I make with these? Nothing. Okay. What about nuts and bolts? What can I make with these? A plank with saw. A rake-headed spiked weapon. Ooh, man. That's a lot of stuff that you need for that. A saw blade plank and a metal reinforced weapon. I'll take these. They're not heavy. Can I make, okay, can't make anything with the large hook. I wish you could make like a hook weapon, like a hook hand weapon. That'd be super cool. And then calipers. What can you do with these? You can forge a wrench. Alright. Cool. Yeah, there's like no... There's no freaking nails in here. Damn it. Back to the car. Back to the goddamn car. Alright. Damn it. Alright, well, we're on the road again, I guess. Oh, there's some crop fields over here. I don't know where we're going, but we're going. We're going, oh. Could there be animals? Could there potentially be a there's trows, so maybe there's chickens and stuff running around? I don't see anything. Sometimes there's like cows. Oh, I don't think there's any cows or anything out here. That's too bad. I wanted to see some moo cows. There's a feeding trough though, so this definitely could be a place if we ever get any animals. But I don't see anything. No creatures. All right, back in the car. Back in the car, everybody. Back in the car. Is this vanilla run? There's a few mods, but yes, mostly vanilla. And also, I did adjust a lot of the settings to make the game easier for me, because, you know, I'm a baby newbie. I'm not very good at the game. So I adjusted, quite a few things at the start. Yeah. It's mostly vanilla. A few mods that, like, for, like, quality of life, but that's about it. Oh. We come to an impasse here. Freedom Road. Yeehaw! Yeah, so we're in a more rural area of Kentucky, it seems. Just, like, not much around. Oh. R means that they're... No loot. No loot. Aw, man. Maybe there's, like, somebody's cabin around here. It's... Oh! There is! There's someone's cabin! I have to real quick, though. I have to, park where my car... So I know. My car is, like, right over here. Oh my god, this is a lot of farmland! Wow! Okay. What the fuck? Okay, I probably shouldn't be running. This shouldn't... Damn. Okay. I don't know if it's worth it right now for checking this place because yeah, I'm not seeing like a farmhouse or anything. They're just kind of empty spaces of land. But I'll keep oh, I will keep in mind. I need to take off my shirt for now. Yeah, we're going. Do I have a shirt? Nope, we're going shirtless. We're going shirtless in the apocalypse, baby. Oops. Yeah, there's nothing in this car, unfortunately. I think it's just a dismantled car wreck. Oh, I need a mask for that. Right. Well, I technically have this place marked on my map. Just general area where it is. Yeah. Where's my car? Is it all the way back there? Time to stun the zombies with John Zombie's ads? Exactly. It's funny because I actually named this guy Samson McZombie, but I like to call him John McZombie. You know, maybe John McZombie was his father, and he's taking after his father. Where did I put my car? Okay, it must be back this way then. Must be. Shit, I'm overexerting myself. Fuck. My goddamn car. What have I done? Why? Where's my car? Oh, there it is. Okay, why? That's Dr. McZombie. Why did I park all the way over here and then walk all the way? God, what's wrong with me? Okay. Alright, let's keep going. We're pretty far out from home, so I gotta be careful, because if I get stuck here, then I got stuck really bad, because my stuff is all there, and there's no teleportation. Huh. Wood. There's no teleportation or fast travel. Can't do anything. Would ruin the realism. Would another car here? Oh, and there's a barn here. I want to loot this car. There's nothing much here. Oh. Check the trunk. Nope, nothing. Nothing in the trunk. Okay, no junk in the trunk. On. I probably should drop. I probably should stop running everywhere. What is this building? Check this out. It's like a military base? Oh, I gotta put my shirt back on. I don't want to get immediately bitten. Alright, what is this building here? Snake snack. I'm gonna eat a snake snack bar. There's a zombie over there, I gotta be careful. This looks like a sort of military base. Door's locked, of course. But this window is our only hope of getting in. Nice. Okay, this is not a military base. But it looks like one. That's for sure. I mean, maybe it's something akin to that. Anything in here? Maintenance! There's a... Okay, we got a skill book. I gotta be careful when grabbing these. I can also put this back. Because I don't want to keep carrying too much. Oh, I forgot to deposit the garbage bags. Oh man. Okay, I should put those in my car, shouldn't I? Some microwave. Staples, paperclip, no nails. No nails yet. Those are surprisingly rare in the apocalypse. Yeah. No chakra there. Oh. Hold on. To find the light. The light over there, okay. You know, you would think nails would be a little easier to find. No, that's sarcasm. They are clearly would not be. That this is like an elevated office or something. I don't know why. Quack quack. I like the ducky. Dental floss. I think that can be used for some stuff. So anything of interest in the first aid? Oh, God damn. I'm gonna be, my inventory's gonna be full. But I need these skill books. I need these skill books. I can learn the secret. Alright, well this place is kind of boring. And let's take care of the, maybe if you level up your disassembly, you can get nails. I don't know if that's is that a skill you can level up? I thought it was just carpentry. I already have carpentry. Let's get rid of you. Well, this is a big boy. Got a bandana and a cowboy hat. Oh, he must have been a farmer or something. Oh, now he's dead. Oh, sorry. She must have been. I want the cowboy hat. I'm gonna wear the cowboy hat. Yeah. Yeah, baby. That's what I'm fucking talking about. That's big zombie, big John McZombie energies. Oh, there's a lot of planks and stuff in here. Still no nails though. If you have hammer, can you like disassemble stuff? Because my carpentry, I do have a hammer, yes. I do have a hammer on me. My carpentry is level 5, so can I get nails from that? Oh, I don't have a wood saw. Man, yeah, I gotta look fresh in the apocalypse. I left my wood saw back in my base. Fuck. I probably should, damn it. Okay. I probably shouldn't be running. Let's see what's over here. A window? No, that's an air conditioner. Because I have disassembled a door before. This is a big ass factory. Okay, of course that's gonna be locked. Can I? Oh, okay. Oh, there's like a tent. Oh. Oh man, this is definitely like a military. Oh wow. Oh, there's a protective case. What's this? Encumbrance reduction. No, okay. Damn, okay, well, alright, well, I guess I'm marking this on my map as some, like, cool military base. Is there, like, a thing that will work for that? Maybe this? Yeah. This works, that works. I want to get into that big-ass factory, though. Oh, there's a holster. I can put that on. And there's a military cap as well. Cool. And this also round. I try not to use guns, though, because, guns have a bit of a tendency to draw zombies in, and then they'll eat me. Oh, speaking of, no. Okay, that was easy. What's in here? There's another military cap, and oh, sunglasses. I could look stylish as fuck. Hold on. Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I gotta look fresh. I'm fresh as fuck, boy. All right, let's see if I can get into this in this factory building here. Whatever this may be. Don't really see. Is this like a? What is this? Oh, there's like a. I don't know what this is. What is this? Guns Unlimited. Your Second Amendment playground. It's the fucking mannequins. I hate them, dude. Oh, this place is awesome. Can I disassemble the door? I can! Let me in! Let me in, bitch! Yes! Okay. I gotta turn the light on. Oh, I just saw the light switch, and it just fucking dissipated on me. Whatever. Oh my goodness! We found the gun! We found the gun! Oh my god! Whoa! Oh shit. Oh my god! Oh my god! This is fucking crazy! Okay, hold on. Let's open the box of shotgun shells. And, can I fit them all in here? No. This doesn't really carry much. Oh wait, no, it does carry. What takes 12 gauge? 12 gauge. Oh, there's scopes. I just saw something that I had. In here? Yeah, these. A tactical shotgun. Attach it to my back. Oh wait, that might wait. Would that? Oh no, that doesn't unequip my backpack. Okay. Also equip my baseball bat in both hands. This is a This is a massive, huge find, bro. Okay. Oh, camo poncho. Oh, these are from Authentic Z. This is a huge find. Wow. Military. Yeah. Bro, we're getting so we're fucking styling right now. We're styling heavily. It's just that the thing is I am like very over encumbered and I have to be careful. Alright, I think for now I'm just gonna put these garbage bags back. Bring them. Oh, that helps a little. And let's just put some stuff in my so we don't. Yeah. This is a huge find. Damn. Okay. Oh. Gas mask, gray military flashlight. Army beret. Scarf. This is crazy. A mining helmet light. Huh. Okay, that's from Authentic Z. Mining helmet. Oh. Wait, hold on. Does that like light up where I look? Hold on, can I turn that on? No, okay. I thought maybe that would like I thought maybe that would be able to turn on, but give me my cowboy hat back. Alright, let me see if I can remove this bandage now. Oh man, I still have a laceration. Is that a zombie? I think I heard a zombie. I heard a zombie. I have to... Okay. I can... Was hell. Ooh, there's tents. Ooh, needs to be unpacked. And there's also a stake for the tent as well. I have to mark this place on my map. I have to mark this place on my map. This is a huge find. Alright, I do have it marked on my map. Look how big it is, too! Damn! Damn! This is a huge find. This is a huge ass find. Hey, there's like everything you could ever need for the zombie apocalypse here. Wow. Empty leather water bag. Wait, if I wear that, will that like move something else? No. Okay. I'll wear that. Oh. Cool. Huge find. Huge find. Okay. And they're having a sale! Only the thing that would make this place perfect is if they had nails. I haven't found any nails just yet. But they might. They might have nails somewhere. Maybe in like the pocket knife. They have the hand knife. Yes, the hand knife is like the most useful item in this fucking game. That's crazy. This is vanilla. There's a lure. There's a tackle box. There's fishing supplies. There's gotta be nails somewhere around here. There's angling museums. There's a fishing book. This is crazy nuts. I don't think I want the shotgun though. Actually, you know what? I'll take the shotgun actually. No, I'll take the shotgun. I'll put it in my backpack. So I'm not over encumbered right now. Minigun would be a jackpot here. Yeah, I haven't really ever used a minigun. I don't know if our minigun's good. Oh, rope. I'll take rope as well. I'm definitely gonna be over encumbered here, but it's okay. It's fine. I can just put stuff in my trunk later. Just whatever is useful. Tackle box. Okay, let's see what's over here. Camping stuff. Shell suit jacket. Damn. Oh, there's more over that way. This is crazy. This is like a big ass mall, huh? Oh, there's a sleeping bag. No other cars around? No, I have my car. I have to take the sleeping bag. Unpack. Okay, I have to take the sleeping bag for my. I know that's gonna, yeah, that's gonna make me overloaded, but I have to take it because I need it to. Yeah, in my, I need to sleep in my I mean, bigger. No, unfortunately, not yet. If I find a larger one, though, that would be great. But I don't think there's any larger ones. Is this like a whole ass mall that I've stumbled upon? We may need to make multiple trips here. Yeah, it's also dark as hell in here. Also, let me turn on the lights. See if that. I know that at one point in the game. Oh wait. At one point in the game, everything kind of turns off. Okay. Oh, I don't know why my character wants to go like on a fucking stupid ass way, but he does. So sorry, John McZombie. Crazy motherfucker. I'm uncomfortable. What is here? I don't like how the fucking mannequins like glow in the dark. It's scary as hell. I don't. Oh shit. Hopefully they can't get through that. Okay. I'm going to equip my baseball bat. Both hands, so I just have a little bit of. Yeah, but we will come back here for sure. For sure. I think this is like the big gun storage or hunting shops. Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. Fine. I just don't like how the mannequins look like that. Oh shit, I'm running too much, so my exerted. Alright, well let's get back to my base so I can set everything up. And I also, the thing is, I did break the door down like an idiot. So if zombies get in here, then oh wait, there's a larger truck here. Oh. I made it. I realize now I made it so that okay, so all right. Trunk. Oh boy. Okay, wait. Wait, give me the driver's seat so I can fucking get going. Thank God. Okay. Alright, I'm out of here. Alright, we found a larger truck. Good. Okay. Alright. Ah, shit, I need to get away from all zombies so I can, like, sort myself out here. Fuck. Nope, that's the wrong way. I can drive a car. I can drive. I'm just really bad at it. Even in video games, it turns out. Okay. Right. Okay, so we just gotta go all the way back this way. So. Alright, there's my old car, so I'm just gonna move around. Maneuver. Gotta maneuver. Okay, alright. Now we should be in a safe space. This should be a safe spot here. So we can access the trunk from here, which is great. So I can put some of this shit in the trunk. Which is great. Oh! We can also get the generator! Oh! I have to get that generator. I have to, if it's the last thing I do. Said. What else can we put in here, though? Oh, I also have to fill up my water. Shoot. I didn't mark on the map where the generator was, but it was around, like, here. Let's get back to my base, though. I would set a base in the big ass gun storage place, but nah, I like it being quaint and cozy and. This is actually, it's crazy. The first run I've done on stream of this game is my best run so far. I don't know if I should be, if it's like, oh fuck, I don't want to ver into the fucking trees and shit. It's streamer luck, bro. It's fucking streamer luck. Like, that's so funny. That's so funny. I definitely want to stream, too fast. Wait, oh wait, I think the yes. The generator's on this. Hold on, there's a zombie. Why is that fucking thing making a shit ton of noise? Alright, just need to deal with you and then grab this generator. Okay, cool. Hey, generator. No, come on. Come on, I have to hurry, bitch! Hurry, put it in! Put it in! God damn it! This thing keeps making noise, and I don't like it. Okay, get back, get in. Why does it do that? Why does it do that? I don't like that. I don't like the beep, beep, beep. Just make sure. Okay, wrong way. Nope, no, there's too many zombies here. Get out of my way! Out of my way! Stop freezing, game, please! Out of my fucking way! God damn it, let me get on the road, okay? Out of my way! Okay. No! No! I'm the shittiest driver in the world, holy shit. Out. Wait, where is my house? No! Stop! No! My car! I need to check the map real quick. The game pauses when I'm checking the map, thank God. Okay, I don't know. Why did I go this way? My house is not on this street. I have to go down. My house is on the main road. Okay, on this road. I think, right? Let me check. Yeah, okay. I am master Project Zomboid player. Okay. Yeah. Alright. Why does it like beep like that? Is there like an option to stop it from? Maybe if I take the key out of ignition. Yes, okay. Alright, well now I can take the generator. And I can put it in my house. Or sorry, the speedy go. Okay, for some reason I still haven't unlocked that door for it like an idiot. Generator, where? You have it equipped. Yeah, okay. Place in your safe house and connect. Requires some electrical knowledge and is fueled with gasoline. Do not operate indoors. Okay, I'll put it out here then. Well, actually, I don't want it to get wet. Does it get affected by the rain? You know, for now, I'm just gonna drop her here. We'll fill the building with toxic fumes when operated here. Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't want to accidentally turn it on. Connect generator. And I can't even because I don't have electrical still over or at level of 3 or higher, so. Okay. I'm gonna put some stuff away. Excuse me. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Oh, wait, yeah. Okay, I need to see how to collect a... No, that is not what I want. Like a rain collection barrel. How do I check where that is? Is it in building? Yes, it is. Okay. Rain collector crate. I still need nails. Fuck. Aw, man. I do have one tarp though, so I can do the tarp one. Is there like a way to like favorite? Oh, here it is. Okay. Right. Alrighty. Well, what else do I need to do? So, oh, right, my sleeping bag. Where is... I put it in the car. I look so freaking epic. Get the saw and start disassembling some chairs. Okay! Let me get my sleeping bag here first. Anything else I put in the car? What's in the sack? Nothing is in the... I can do that though. Disassembling chairs is my job. Okay. Are you? Holding it? Did I put it in my backpack? Oh. Alright, unpack sleeping bag. This will work instead of a mattress for now. Oh, did it? Okay. I thought it was on the floor. Okay, and then I have to grab it. Install furniture! Right here. Yeah, this will work right here. This is a comfortable place to sleep. Sleep comfort poor. Okay, can I put a pillow on the bed? Maybe that'll help a little. maybe that'll help just a little bit. Oh, no. Grab the pillow. If I, like, drag a pillow over it, does that... Fuck, okay. I guess I can't... Damn, okay. Guess I cannot put a pillow here. Okay, well, I'll just... Alright, let's get the wood saw. And, get rid of some of these chairs over here. Oh. Oh! let me get the light in here. I'm just wondering. Oh, so I do have a generator now, so I'm gonna have to level up my electrical skill. Can I not disassemble the office chair? Welding? No! No, these are fucking welding chairs! No! It's okay, wait. We can disassemble the table here. Alright, let's see what's on the floor. Nails! Nice. And also plank, as well, which I'll grab. And I can't disassemble the, red oak office desk? Okay. Anything? Why is, oh, there's food on the floor now. Oh, did somebody, oh, is that someone's order? I'm taking that. Oh man, that sounds so good right about now. It's in the paper bag. Any other nails from that? No, but there's another plank, so I'll take that. I will saw everything I fucking can in this building. Nails, yes, perfect. Planks also. I'm gonna take these and then put them back where. Okay, well, that's as much as I can take right now. Okay. Yeah, it is. I'm in pain because I'm carrying so. Okay. Oh, shit, I need to eat. And so, oh wait, I have food. I forgot, I just grabbed food, didn't I? Also, I need to put, I'm gonna put this book in. I'm just fried chicken. I'm gonna have these for. Nom 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 nom. Nom 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 nom. This is perfect. And then I need to, get water as well. I have a water thing. I have like a cantina. Fill all. Oh, that's not good. It's like heavy. But it's funny because it's slowly going down because my character is thirsty. Okay. So we have nails. Oh, I got more. Okay. All right. So we can make. I think, if I'm correct. Wait. Sorry. That's in. Building. That's not what I clicked. The tarp. It's in favorites here. Okay. We need 4 planks, 4 nails, and 1 tarp. So we need more nails. So I'm gonna sacrifice this table here right now. Aw, it's welding. I need to find more wood stuff to break. I need to find more wooden stuff to get rid of. So then for now I'll just put right. I'll put these books in here. I don't need... I'll also put the tactical shotgun as well. Oh, that's the needle. I want needle. Oh, there's no... Wait, what? No, okay. For some reason, it wasn't working for... That subs up a lot of space in my inventory. I'm gonna equip my baseball bat. I'm gonna put dental floss in here. Don't need that. I will keep the nails in here for now. And also the dirty rag. And the rope. Cool. Okay. Oh, and the wood saw. I don't need... Well, no, I do need the wood saw, because I wanna go around and people's houses, I guess. Alright. Well, I'm off into town to go disassemble some chairs. As one does. This is a very normal human activity. This is a very completely normal and human activity that you... Can you move? Thank you. And thankfully town is not too far from here. Alright, again, just... Blue. Take the key out of the ignition. Don't want to make that same mistake again. Fuck. Get in the house. Climb through the window. And start breaking shit! Start breaking shit! Oh, gotta close the door too. Disassemble the chair! Disassemble the chair! Kill the child! Let's see what we got from... Aw, man, just a plank? Okay, that's not what I need. I need nails. Come on. Come on now, bro. No! Move all that to floor. That to floor so I can assemble. Is that screw? There's screws, not nails? You give me screws, not nails? Fuck you. Ow. On. Disassemble the chair. Could not produce any valuable materials! Why are you doing this to me? How's my claw hammer condition? Nano condition's not doing very great. Can I repair it with anything? Fix with adhesive tape, fix with duct tape, and fix... Alright, let's disassemble. Nails! Yeah, we did it! We got the stuff that we needed. Nice. I'll also take these planks. Well. Yeah, we shouldn't get over encumbered by... Nope, we are getting... I still don't understand how that works, per se. Like, I have space in my backpack. I have space in my... Alright, and there's also a bunch of pistols and stuff. So we got the stuff we need. Yay! So, oh. Now we can make a, now we can leave. And we can make... I should probably... Now we can go make a, the water collecting thing. Yeah, that. I think I'm actually making pretty good progress for my first time, like, figuring this stuff out. Crazy. Just because I'm a newbie, like, I'm very new. I'm just very not good at controlling the goddamn car. Alright. Well, and my base is like, it's literally right here. It's literally right here, chat. That hurts. That hurts. That hurts. That hurts a lot. Oh, poor car. My poor fucking car, bro. Okay. Take the key out of ignition. Crouch here. I got it. Yeah, I got it. I got it. I did it. No, I'm the best Project Zomboid game player in the world. Okay. All right. So we need tarp, and we have the nails. We need tarp, nails, which I have the nails. What else? Oh, and the planks. Right. We need the planks as well. So let me do this, and I'm gonna put it over here because like there's a fence already. Sorry. I just have to be careful. Okay. I think this is enough. Because having this stuff in my inventory hurts. Alright, rain collector. Build this. Let's build this like right here. Nice. Oh, I got carpentry. I got a lot of carpentry XP for that. Nice. So now we have now we should have unlimited water, which is really cool. Can I make like a campfire? A fire pit. A fire pit. So we can make a fire pit, hopefully. But we don't have a bucket of, we need a bucket of clay cement, stones, and where do I get clay cement? Where am I? Okay, there's a normal campfire here as well. Okay. Okay, I just need stones, and there's like a bunch of stones around, so that's great. Gotta pick up stones. Oh, don't. Do not want to leave that open. Cause apparently they oh, there's a river over here. How did I not see that till now? Wait, what the fuck? This is like a godlike spawn. Holy shit. Godly spawn, bro. Godly. Okay, I'm gonna grab some rocks here. How many rocks was that? Just one. Okay, I need to grab 3. I see the stone. I can't grab it. Okay. Move stone. Godly spawn. And then remove. Is this gonna work as a normal stone as well? No, I don't. That says large stone, so I don't want to. At this one. Here's the normal stone. Here's the normal stone. All right, so now we have enough for a fire pit. The thing I do have to figure out though is how I'm gonna light it. So if I go back to that fishing place, alright. So if I go back to the place where the fishing is, okay. Campfire. I guess I'll put it like right here. Like a good spot. Okay, fuel. Light fire. No lighting method available. Fuel 0 hours. No lighting method. So I need like a lighter or something. Cool. Something to make fire with. I'm gonna really silly. I'm just gonna look up if you can use like sticks and stones. Oh, I almost looked up Plants vs. Zombies like an idiot. You need campfire materials. Combine items like a book, magazine, or rip sheets with logs. Right click the have a lighter or a box of matches. Okay. Alright. I do need a box of matches for that, so. Alrighty, okay. Well, thinking if I'm thinking is an input for favorite crafting. Oh. Alright. I can do others. Okay, I know disinfect these. I can carve a wooden rod. Okay, how do you make a fishing rod? Recipe not learned. Well, if I need a fishing rod, I can also go back to that place. It's like, okay, cool. I think that I'm gonna wrap it up for here, for today. We made a lot of good progress. I definitely want to stream more Project Zomboid eventually. So yeah, alright. Thank you guys so freaking much for coming in, hanging out with me, and watching me play Zomboid. I definitely want to stream more of this. It's a lot of fun. Now that I actually kind of know what I'm doing to survive. And I'm not using a respawn mod this time. I usually do when I'm playing off stream, but I'm not this time. But yeah, I had a lot of fun today. Oh, I just reached 300 followers on Twitter. Let's go. Okay. Right. So yeah, let's see what's up next on my schedule here. So I'm just shocked I haven't died yet in this. I thought I would be dead by now. I honestly thought I would be dead by now, but I have been being careful, and I've been trying to keep away from zombie hordes. I have made a lot of stupid decisions though. Okay, so there's no stream tomorrow, but on Friday, at 3 p.m, we will be playing Fields of Mystery. Ooh, I don't know what I'm saying. Ooh, Fields of Now, we're gonna be playing Fields of Mystery 1.0, which I'm very excited about. Because I love Fields of Mystery. I choked on my spit. Wow. We're gonna be playing Fields of Mystery 1.0. Which I'm very excited about because I love I love Fields of Mystery, and I love cozy, comfy farming games. This is not a cozy or comfy farming game. This is a zombie survival game. But I also like cozy and comfy farming games. Anyways, I don't really have anything else much to say other than thank you guys so much for coming by and dropping by. And I'm gonna go to sleep. Maybe not to sleep just yet. I'm working on making like jeweler bracelets and stuff. It's a lot of fun. But thank you so much for dropping by. And again, thank you so much to Yerkun for the 1 month subscription. For the tier 1 subscription. I love you guys so much. And I appreciate you guys so much. And I will see you guys next time. Alright. Bye!